The 2025 NFL Draft is in the books. Welcome into this edition of Seattle Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones, your fearless leader, here with you. Thanks for joining us. And what a draft it was. John Schneider knocks it out of the park. They had a lot of things that this team needed to do, and I felt like John Schneider did a really good job of putting a complete draft together, finding players to fit positions of need, while also taking care of getting some of the best players available at the same time, too. A well-balanced draft. We'll break it all down for you, every single pick, and give you our final grades here on today's show. Before we do, folks, we have been doing a sub-battle for the last month or so in the lead up to the 2025 NFL Draft between a couple of fellow NFC powerhouse channels here at Chat Sports. The 49ers Report leading the way with 5,085 new subs. Cowboys Report not too far behind at 5,075. This is our last chance to win this sub battle, my friends. You can see we're a little bit behind at 5,069. For daily Seattle Seahawks news and rumors throughout the offseason, sometimes 2 and 3 videos a day. Live shows each and every Monday and Wednesday. We also bring you breaking news, Q&A mailbags, and more right here on your one-stop shop for all things Seattle Seahawks. If you love the Hawks, this is the channel for you. You got to be subscribed. Subscribe now for free, youtube.com/Seahawks TV, and we'll get started with today's show. We begin with the first-round selection of Grey Zabel. The reports heading into this week were that Seattle was focused in on 2 players, Arroyo McMillan, the wide receiver from Arizona, and offensive lineman Grey Zabel from North Dakota State. McMillan goes 8 to the Carolina Panthers, and Seattle gets their next guy in Grey Zabel. And not only did they find the best interior offensive lineman in this draft, but they also found somebody that fills a big need. And John Schneider has been criticized for years about not investing in the interior of the offensive line, not using high draft picks on those positions. But this time, it changed. It was different. He gets a guy in Zabel who played tackle in college. He's expected to transition to the interior. And going in to this week, there was talk about Zabel. Hey, he could potentially play all 5 positions, either tackle spot, either guard spot, or center. I would have to think that for Seattle, with their circumstance, they're going to need him at the guard spot, probably at the left tackle position, formerly held by Laken Tomlinson. And Grey Zabel checks off every box. Very good pass blocker, very good run blocker, doesn't get called for a ton of sacks or penalties. I think it was an excellent pick. I know the Hawks were talking about potentially trading down and still getting Zabel. They didn't get an offer they liked. They stayed put at 18, and they got a very good football player. I loved the pick of Grey Zabel there at 18. Then you go to the 35th selection. Seattle trades up, and they get South Carolina safety Nick Emmanwori. And with Emmanwori, I had a first-round grade on him. I thought that he was going to be a for sure thing to go in round 1. Instead, he slips through the cracks, and this was a player that we talked about on this show in the past, seemed like a Mike Macdonald type of player, that he was going to be very tempted to push to draft him at 18. And when the opportunity came knocking to move up and get him in the second round, they crashed through that door and capitalized on this pick. And you think about this safety spot. You already have a Pro Bowler in Julian Love. You have an emerging young player in Kobe Bryant. And now you get to get creative with this position, as we've seen in the past. Mike Macdonald, when he was the defensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens, one of the best things he did was his ability to use 3 safeties with Kyle Hamilton, Geno Stone, and Marcus Williams. And now you're able to do that again. And a guy that creates a lot of turnovers, I think it's a great pick. I'll go with an A with Emmanwori there at 35. Then we go to the 50th pick, and this is another A. I'm giving these A's out like candy, it seems. Believe me, there are some picks I'm questionable about. We'll get to those in a moment. Elijah Arroyo, the tight end out of Miami. This was a historic year when it came to the tight end position in this draft with Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren. Those guys were very tempting for Seattle, but instead they wait till pick 50 and they get an excellent pass catcher. He's very good about getting open, and this offense is about to change. I know we're not used to talking about the tight end position at a high level in Seattle with what we saw in previous regimes with Ryan Grubb and Shane Waldron and others, but that's going to change. Clint Kubiak has been very clear that the tight end is going to play a crucial role in this offense, and in particular the passing game. And you think about Sam Darnold, one of the things that helped him out a lot in Minnesota last year was pairing up with TJ Hawkinson there at that tight end position. Now you get a very good pass catcher. You're not worried now about Noah Fant in his overpriced contract situation. You have A.J. Barner coming off a strong rookie campaign. The tight end spot looks really good all of a sudden with Arroyo in the mix. Who is your favorite pick by the Seattle Seahawks? I'll give you my answer in a moment, but I want to hear from you guys first. Weigh in the comment section. Let us know who your favorite pick by the Seattle Seahawks was. For me, my favorite draft pick that we saw from Seattle was their second pick of Nick Emmanwori. And it's for a couple of reasons of why it was my favorite. Not only did you get a fantastic football player, who I had a first-round grade on, and you got some good value, but the fact that you were willing to take a chance and move up and do something that was uncharacteristic of John Schneider, of trading up in the draft. And that was a common theme that we saw in the 2025 draft from Schneider, whether it was selecting interior offensive lineman high or trading up or drafting a quarterback like we're going to talk about next. I like that John Schneider did things different, did things he needed to do. So, the quarterback, Jalen Milroe, I give this a B+. Milroe, I'll be honest, is not my favorite quarterback in this draft by any stretch of the imagination. I think that there is a lot of work that he needs to do if he is going to be a good quarterback in the National Football League. But even with that said, with Jalen Milroe here, his ceiling is as high as any quarterback in this draft. I think he's put in a good position in Seattle where there's no pressure on him to start. This is Sam Darnold's team. He is the franchise quarterback. Milroe can mature and develop as a passer. He's got some great raw tools when you talk about his arm strength, his rushing ability. But there was some major accuracy concerns that he had there. And I think that Clint Kubiak is going to be able to dial up some packages to get Jalen Milroe involved, whether that's in the Wildcat or potentially some H-back, tight end type role of sorts. He's too good of an athlete not to be able to use. Worst case scenario, even if he's never your starting quarterback, you might have found a pretty decent long-term backup quarterback or a player that you can get involved in a variety of ways. I'll give it a B+ for Jalen Milroe. Next up, let's go Rylie Mills, the defensive lineman from Notre Dame. I'll give this a B+. I like the pick, but with the injury he suffered in the college football playoff last year, we don't even know if he's going to play in 2025. Had he stayed healthy, then this is somebody that would have been picked much earlier than the 5th round. And you're adding depth to the defensive line. You're investing in this position in the future. We don't know how much longer Jaron Reed is going to be here. I like this pick, but it's one that time will tell, and let's see how he recovers from the injury. I'll give it a B+ there. Next up, let's go to Tory Holton, the wide receiver from Colorado State. He's a big dude, and he's got good hands. He's a very good pass catcher, pretty decent route runner. He's another one, kind of like what we talked about with the previous pick. If he didn't have the season-ending injury, he would have been picked much higher than what he was. So you got some value there, but you are taking a chance on a player that's been banged up. So I'll give this an A-. But you think about this. This Seattle team with this wide receiver position, you bring in Cooper Kupp, you bring in MVS, and I think when you look at this team of the wide receiver position as a whole, you have some really good slot options. And now you bring in Horton, and you have somebody that can stretch the field, that can offer you something different, because right now it looks like MVS is the only real guy that can do that. I think it's a good pick. The numbers were really good prior to this season of the last 2 years. Didn't do it against the best competition in the Mountain West Conference, but I think it was a very good pick for Seattle to go with Horton there. Some value there in the 5th round. It's even with the injury stuff, you can take a chance on a fifth-round pick like that. I'll go with an A-. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time is the place to go for the best seats, the lowest prices guaranteed. Recently, I went to an NBA game with the family. It was at the very last minute. And Game Time was able to save us money on tickets because the prices go down the closer it gets to when the event starts. Tickets on short notice, Game Time is the place to go. And with Game Time, their lowest prices, not only are they guaranteed, but they also have this feature called the Low Prices Enabled, which allows you to save money on those tickets, and you can invest more on, let's say, buying food, drinks, merchandise, or more easily get a larger group to come with you. Maybe you can't go to an NBA playoff game and you want to go to something in Seattle, like you want to go see the Mariners or the Storm or the Sounders. You choose the event you want to go to. They got the prices listed. You choose your seat, see if you like that seat or not, and then you're checking out on Game Time with Apple Pay, Google Pay, Venmo, all major credit card providers. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Seattle Seahawks Today. The last-minute deals can save you up to 60% off buying for sports, concerts, comedy shows, theater productions, and more. Game Time Picks makes last-minute ticket buying easier than ever by quickly highlighting the best deals in the stadium. They have their zone deals where you can save even more when you choose a section. Let Game Time choose the seats. They offer all-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. They have their seat views where you can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. The lowest price is guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Game Time, proud partner of Seattle Seahawks Today. Glad to have them on board here on today's show. Next up, we go to pick 175, and this is Alabama tight end Robbie Ouzts is the pick. I'm going to go with C- here. I thought this was a reach. Most people thought that Ouzts was not going to be drafted, and he didn't really do much as a receiver, only had 8 total catches this past season. He is a strictly blocking tight end, but there's already talk that Seattle has plans to move him from the tight end spot to be a fullback, H-back type of sorts. So we'll see how that potentially works out. I don't think that you needed to use a 5th-round pick on that. I'm going to go with C-, but they did such a good job with these other picks that you're not going to lose too much sleep over using this pick on a guy that's going to be a fullback, H-back type that may have been a reach. They clearly see something they like in him. Then we go to 192, and we got my guy, Bryce Cabledue from the University of Kansas. I am fired up about this pick. He started a lot of games at KU as a starting left and right tackle. He has never played guard in his life. He is going to transition to the guard spot. He'll compete for one of the starting guard positions this upcoming season. But even though he has never played guard before, he did get some reps at the guard spot in the East-West Shrine game, and he was very comfortable with that role. He did a very good job in pass pro, also in run protection. He was very well-rounded. Arm length is a little short, but I'm not as concerned about that when you're playing inside. I think this was a great pick, and he's been very dependable. Not only is the production there, but he hasn't missed much at all in his time at KU. I'm very proud of this pick. I'm excited to see him in Seattle. I'll give this an A. Got a couple more picks to get to in a moment. We want to know, who was your least favorite pick by the Seattle Seahawks? I gave you my answer a few moments ago. What is your answer? Weigh in the comments section and tell us who that is. Next up, we find Damien Martinez. This was the sneaky good steal pick of the draft, the running back out of Miami. Our grades on him were anywhere from 3rd to 5th round. So the fact that he was still available in the 7th round was awesome. And I know what some of you might be thinking right away. You got K9. You got Charbonnet. You got Kenny McIntosh. Why do you need another running back? Well, this is a situation where best available, you're taking chances on guys late in the 7th round anyway. Why not? He's a very good runner. He's a pretty decent pass catcher. I like Damien Martinez, and it gives some flexibility for this position. One that is, historically speaking, from Chris Carson to Rashad Penny, and even more recently with Charbonnet and Walker, has been very banged up. You could use some depth at this spot. Martinez, I think, pairing him up with Arroyo, a couple guys from Miami, it's all about the U in Seattle these days. I'm going with an A. I love the pick. A couple more for you. 234, Mason Richman, offensive lineman from Iowa. Similar to what we talked about with Cabledue, he was a tackle in college. He'll move to the guard spot. Now you got some serious competition at the guard position for Seattle. I don't know how it's going to shape out. Outside of Grey Zabel, we'll see who's going to be your starting guards on this team. But at the very least, you're playing the lottery system here where you're hoping just one of them hits. And between Haynes and Bradford and Richman and Cabledue and Lumea and others, somebody is going to come through. Somebody's going to break through. I'll give an A on Richman. Give him a chance. And then the final pick, Ricky White III, the wide receiver, is the last pick for Seattle. And he was one that was another steal. This was somebody that we had about a 5th-round grade on. He was still available. You give him a chance, see what he's made of. I think it was another solid pick by John Schneider. Very productive throughout his career at the college level. I like the pick there. So I'll give you my final grade in a moment. I think you all have a pretty good idea where I'm going with this, but I want to hear from you guys. Grade the pick, grade the draft. A, B, C, D, or F. Weigh in the comment section. Let us know. This is an A draft. And John Schneider, we know, has been dealing with his job pretty much being on the line, especially with the offensive line situation. He lives to see another day. This was the draft we needed. Now let's see this all come together. Let's see the fruits of their labor pay off when it counts in the regular season and see results and these guys develop and turn into wins. I think to kind of put a bow on this, we end this draft. We went through the first wave of free agency. And Seattle, in my book, looks like a playoff team right now. And that's huge, which some folks thought was impossible even just a few weeks ago. John Schneider did a really good job. Appreciate you joining us here on Seahawks Today for continuing Seahawks coverage throughout the rest of the offseason. Subscribe now, youtube.com/SeahawksTV. We'll see you tomorrow as we're talking UDFAs. Thanks for joining us.